Hey, welcome to this episode of Conversations with Creatives with the Arts Council ladies.
I'm Lindsay.
I'm Leslie.
And today we are here with artist Tony Brock from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We're going to be having a conversation with Tony about our latest gallery exhibit at the Shelby County Arts Council, Return to the B-Sides.
That's it.
So, welcome Tony. Welcome Tony to our show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
It's coming up. You don't want to miss it. Here we go.
All
We're
right.
here. You're going to interview our guest today?
We're gonna both interview our guests today.
Oh, yeah, we are.
So I'm the resident artist. Leslie's the resident musician. So
Yes,
she is along for the ride today.
that's right. I'll ask some very interesting questions that most of you would probably ask as well. So
Exactly.
let's
Sounds
go.
good.
Hey,
Looking forward
Tony.
to it. How are y'all?
We're good.
Welcome. How's Tuscaloosa these days?
Tuscaloosa's Tuscaloosa. Roll
Roll
Tide.
Tide. Roll Tide.
All day, every day.
Yeah.
I just don't enjoy driving over there. It's a lot of traffic.
And traffic has gotten worse, noticeably in the last few years, too.
Oh, I bet.
It's about like 280 all the way through there.
Oh yeah, man.
Wow.
Well, we're here today. We just want to ask you a couple of questions
Sure.
about your artistic journey through life and how you ended up meeting us and knowing us. And I actually met Tony like a long, long time ago, but I don't think we really remember meeting
I don't.
each other at the old Arts Council building for the first B-side.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
First B-side.
The first B-side.
Cool.
Yes, it was just called
How many
the
B-sides are there?
That was years ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Gosh, yeah. Some of those same paintings might still be in this show.
A couple
maybe.
of them are, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
I think when I started working, was that his work there?
No. Well, he was
2022?
you were in the Robin Nance Metz competition.
Okay.
Yep, yep.
Yes, that's whenever you came back.
Yeah.
And I was like, we need to have Tony back in this gallery again because I forgot about him. And I was like, I really like Tony's work. I loved the original B-side show because I love musicians. And when I was a teenager, I painted a lot of musicians in high school. So did Jack White, Jerry Garcia, Kurt Cobain. And so I was like, this is so cool. And he had a painting of David Bowie in that exhibit.
Really?
I love it. I still love that.
That's cool.
I wish that one was in there.
That was a commission too. Somebody I used to work with just loved David Bowie as well, and he said, "Hey man, I would love for you to paint him." So he had the idea, of the photo and everything he want me to use for a reference, and knocked it out on an old cabinet door from the house that we refurbished.
Wow.
I think in that first B-side show, didn't you paint on a lot of like doors and stuff?
I did plywood doors, cabinet doors. I can't remember. There were a lot of things. Some masonite and stuff, and a few canvases. Just something to, if I found a piece of masonite or something laying around, I grab it up and put some gesso on it and go to town later on. Sometimes I hold on to them for 10 years and never paint on them. But
Yeah.
That's great.
got a shelf full of them.
What's your favorite musician? Do you have a favorite that you've painted?
I haven't painted him, but my favorite musician of all time that I will love till the day I die, man. And if he ever passes away, I'll need some time out for a few days. Bruce Springsteen.
Oh,
Yeah.
he will pass it away one day.
I
But
know
we'll
it.
be there for you, Tony.
I hope so. I will call you guys.
Hopefully
up.
not soon, but
No, hopefully he's with us for a long, long time. But I
keep
love
on
Bruce.
rocking.
Yes.
I love Dancing in the Dark.
Yes.
That's like my favorite song.
Yes.
Give
And
us a little snippet of Dancing in
No,
the Dark.
I don't think the
Oh, man.
people need to.
One day,
One day.
one day the people will hear Lindsay
The
sing.
people will hear me sing, but not.
I think that's Courtney Costa's favorite song too, though.
Yes,
Reckon-
but didn't she get pulled up on stage
Yes.
to dance with him?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Really?
yeah, that was
In
like
a video.
or something. Yeah, she gets pulled up on stage to dance with him in the.
That's
Yeah,
This is
that was
before
like-
Friends.
Yeah, it was before she got famous.
what?
Yeah, I used to look it
Oh,
up.
Mountain Brook, Courtney Cox. Huh?
That's her.
I think she's from Mountain Brook.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yep.
She's a home Alabama girl.
Maybe she'll let us interview her one day.
Okay, Courtney Cox, we're coming for you.
You've been warned.
Well, let's go back to the beginning. So, you are a graphic designer now.
I am a graphic designer by trade. That's how I actually earn my living. I'm a freelancer as of 2022, and I do infographics and Web graphics and social media graphics for several businesses that are tied to construction and trucking. And because that's my background with the place I used to work, and I was there for 22 years, so I learned a lot about that. And so it kind of was a natural progression to go into freelancing, doing work for some of those clients. And so that's what I do now. And I paint when I have time, and that's it. Yeah.
Awesome. So, did you, I mean, like when you were a kid, were you really into art, or is it
gosh.
something you got into later?
No, when I was a kid, it's a long, long story, but people say I should write a book like somebody else would know. But no, put it to you this way. When I was about 4 or 5 years old, I was drawing on grocery sacks and everything, and this is in the early to mid 70s. And choppers were popular. Easy Rider was released just a few years prior to that, and everybody was into that. And I remember hearing them. I remember seeing them, the big fat wide tires on the back and everything. They were loud. No helmets or anything. And people were just dying left and right on those things. And
What is safety?
yes.
Yeah.
So I would draw them. And I don't know what made me do that. Maybe I was just enthralled by them or whatever. And then people who knew my parents said, "Hey, can you get your kid to draw my chopper?" So I would draw somebody's chopper, and it's probably god awful, but for a 5 or 6 year old, it's probably pretty good.
Right. Yeah.
But I remember doing that, and then I got into comic books, and like everybody else did. And I remember the first few that I ever had, I never read them. I just looked at the pictures.
Yeah.
And then I just drew whatever was there and just got me going. And I never thought as anything important or anything that would lead to anything. I just had fun doing it. Some kids were out there, throwing baseballs and everything. And I was just thumbing through a comic book and just, rendering what I saw.
Yeah. And that has influenced a lot of your work today.
It has.
Too,
Yeah.
right? Because
It has.
a lot of your paintings are like Captain America or Hawkeye, or who's your favorite comic book hero?
Oh, man. Captain America.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not necessarily that him as the character. It's more of who drew him, I guess. And Jack Kirby was a huge influence on a lot of artists. And a lot of people watching this probably know who Jack Kirby is, drop of a hat. But he and Stan Lee pretty much created Marvel, and the X-Men, the Avengers, Captain America, and Ditko helped create Spider-Man, of course. But Kirby established the Marvel house style in the 60s, and we won't get into how Kirby was done and how he left Marvel and everything. But basically, everybody loves everything that Kirby did, and he's called a genius. And I didn't realize at the time, when I was little, that this guy was at math. I didn't know who drew the comic books. I kept gravitating towards Kirby stuff though, without realizing I was gravitating towards his stuff.
Yeah.
But anything he did, I liked, and he really did a great job on Captain America. So these days, in my 50s, I'm kind of revisiting those times. That's when I started that series of comic recreations and everything, because I did it just for the fun of it, and I'm not trying to sell them or anything. It's just so fun to do, and I was kind of trying to recapture that enthusiasm that I had as a kid. Now, where there's no pressure, just do it. You like this panel from this comic, just draw it and paint it and see what happens.
Just have fun.
Had a blast doing it too.
Yeah, well,
cool.
They look really cool. And
They're amazing.
Yeah, there's a couple of them in the Return to the B-Sides exhibit. So
Right.
so the Return to the B-Sides show. So this is actually kind of like a part 2 of a show you curated a long time ago.
Actually, this may be 1, 2, 3. This may be part 4 actually.
Okay.
Oh,
Because the first one was in Tuscaloosa, and long story short, Mark Cobb, a friend of mine, an editor at the T News in Tuscaloosa, and I were talking, and I got the clearance to go ahead and do a show at the Cultural Arts Center in Tuscaloosa. It wasn't called that at the time, I don't think. I can't remember what it's called back then. But anyway, downtown Tuscaloosa. I recruited Jeff Bertrand, Tony Bertina, and another artist. Last name was Bells, and Brock. So I was talking to Mark Cobb, and I said, there's 4 of us. We want to do a show and everything. And Mark actually suggested, try to tie in the last names. All of y'all's last names are B. Then I came up with and our art isn't like mainstream art. It's not stuff you see hanging over somebody's couch. it's kind of stuff on the flip side of that. So
Like the B side
and it
of
was
the
the
record.
B-side.
I wondered what the B side. I was going to ask,
it.
but I didn't
Were
know if
you
that would be
thinking
a
about the B side of the
stupid
record?
question. Hey, I could be in that show.
You could be a B side. She's Belks.
There you go.
Belt.
There you go. Why not?
Yeah, my art would be great.
It would be so good.
But no, we did the show, and I curated, and it was a job, just
Oh, yes.
herding the cats and everything, and and
I'm familiar with that.
say again.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. And I love Tony Bertina too, but he'll be the first one to tell you his oil paintings were still wet when they brought him in to hang up the day before.
Yep.
But no, it's a great show. Everybody had a lot of fun, and it's a good vibe, and it's just fun just meeting everybody. It wasn't back then. It wasn't really about selling. It was just about getting the artwork out there, getting people aware of it, and just meeting people. And yeah, we had fun, and then we had so much fun that a year or two later, we had another opening that I was cleared to do, and I asked about it, and they said, "Yeah, go ahead, do what you want to do." So that's pretty cool too, though, because the first one was so successful. They said, "We're not going to question it. Just go ahead and do it. Here's your time allotment." So on this one, if I remember right, we recruited about 14 artists, and we had art. And Jeff Bertrand at the time was from Nashville. And he recruited some of his artist friends from Nashville, and he's really big in the art scene there. And he is definitely a B-side artist and really prolific too. But he got a couple of artists, and one of his artists sent down to Tuscaloosa from Nashville paintings with nails driven into them, wrapped in rusty barbed wire. So
Wonderful.
great work.
Get your tetanus shot ready.
Yes, I was really careful hanging that.
Man.
But that show was really good too, and it got a lot of people out there to view it, and it was just good for everybody, win-win-win. And I think several artists sold some stuff, and a lot of artists earned some fans. So
Awesome. And was that also in Tuscaloosa?
that was in Tuscaloosa.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then Bruce Andrews, a friend of mine, of course, everybody knows Bruce, and he reached out to me for that first show in Columbiana at
At the Old Arts Council.
the old
Yeah.
Arts Council. I said,
tiny-
"Hey,
the
you
tiny
want to do it again?" I
building.
said, "Just do it again, man." So we did, and I think this time it was just my stuff
Okay.
at that one, and then now, and so then when we're doing next week is the second one.
Yes.
in this part of the country.
Yeah. So it features Tony Brock and Andrew Koss.
Andrew Costin, yep.
And can you just talk a little bit about Andrew's
I sure
work,
can.
just to kind of explain?
Met Andrew, I think, at the Montebello Arts Festival, I believe, the Art in the Park, 2011, I think. And he came to my booth and talked for a long time. Then I went to his booth and saw his work. Our work complements each other because his are bright and colorful. My work is bright and colorful as well. And we just had so much to talk about. And so we became instant friends that day. Mm-hmm. And we stayed in touch all this time. And in fact, there was a picture my wife made of Andrew and I at that first meeting where we're just standing over there shooting a bull, and I didn't get my booth set up in time because Andrew and I were talking so
Right.
much. So that was good. But I love Andrew, and I've been trying to get him to show with me for a long time. But he's so busy
Yeah.
doing other shows and everything. I reached out to him about this, and I said, I would love to show with you. You don't know if you're going to do another show or not. Just life happens, and so fortunately, I was able to talk him into it, and he was happy to do it, of course, But even he said, finally, we're showing our work together.
Yes. Yeah. I think it does complement each other a lot. And I actually have a piece of Andrew's art in my office. And I've had a couple of his things because he used to live in Montebello. So, and I think his wife used to be the mayor of Montebello.
She was.
too. Yeah.
Mhm.
She
Always.
was a professor at Montebello. So that's kind of how I met them. And yeah, I always liked his work. So I was like, yeah, he does a lot of like musicians and
He does.
kind of pop
Yeah.
kind of work.
Pop art.
Pop art.
Is that what it's called?
Would you categorize your artwork as pop art?
Yeah. Mark Cobb
Oops.
said it was pop surrealism.
Okay.
Which works for me because that is the same thing as B-side or flip side, whatever. It is a counterculture art, lowbrow art, which it sounds less unflattering, but it is a term, lowbrow art, and it's not.
Lowbrow art.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay.
It's still good. The skill sets are still there. It's just a different subject and everything. Brighter, more garish colors. And,
It's not like a more elevated kind of
right.
Yeah.
It's not an ocean scene or anything like that,
Learning
which
so much.
Yes.
and those are great, But yeah, that's Yeah, it's pop art.
It's like not for everybody. It's more of like a more refined taste.
Okay.
Or not especially refined, but just a specific taste.
Okay.
And it is, and the followers of lowbrow art, or the followers that I have, the people who buy my art on a regular basis, it's a small group, but they're really dedicated and they're really encouraging and everything. And I feed off of that encouragement and thing because, when I'm myself painting something, I think, well, so-and-so will like this one a lot, But you try not to go that route because you want to do what you want to do and have fun doing it. And then if you build it, they will come kind of thing. And so you try not to think about that, but at the same time, you can't help but think, that somebody will, so-and-so will like this piece a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine line to walk where you're trying to like do things that you want to do, that you're passionate about, but you also want to do things that are marketable if you want to sell them or something like that.
Exactly.
And it's hard not to.
It is hard.
So,
Are y'all always right about what you think you'll sell?
No.
Or are you surprised?
I'm always surprised.
I'm always
Okay,
surprised.
see,
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
Always.
Yeah.
So do what you want to do, and you might sell it.
Right.
Sure.
There's one example of that. A doctor in Tuscaloosa, he bought probably 6 of my works, and the first one he bought, and I was a rookie, and I wasn't used to being in this arena of selling work and everything. He picked out a painting that I thought it meant something to me, but it wasn't well executed. But it had a good point to it. It wasn't like a portrait of somebody. It was an old yellow car with a man driving a car and a woman reading a map, 2 kids sitting in the back seat. And there's a superhero sitting in the middle of it, Green Lantern, and you can't see you can't see the man driving the car. His arm is really tan. It's hanging off the car, and there's a reason I'm saying all this too. And you can't see the woman's face because she gets the sunglasses on and she's reading a map. And there's a pack of a carton of cigarettes on a dash, and the 2 kids on her back reading comic books, and Green Lantern sitting there, just kind of watching over the kids, So this guy, and I didn't know who he was. I call him Dr. Jeff. He's a good friend of mine now. He came over and said, "Hey, I know this is not for sale, but this is it wasn't a B-side show; it was another gallery show." And he said, "I know this is not for sale, but can you give me a story about this?" So I explained to him just what I was telling y'all just now. But he said, "Why the Green Lantern figure?" I said, "Well, that's the Christ figure. He is actually watching over those kids in the back seat, and those people. The man driving the car is my stepfather." He died of lung cancer from the cigarettes, and then my mother was always reading the maps, and she had those big old giant sunglasses on from the 70s. That's my little sister, and that's me right there reading Avengers 160 from 1977. So in 1977, we were really reading, Green Lantern and everything. So I was telling him that story, and we both kind of had a moment, and I thought, man, this is what it's about, because I got chills just talking about it just now, and then talking to him about it, I almost got misty-eyed because nobody's really asked, and he asked, and he wanted to know the story behind it. And so he offered to buy it, and he said, he gave me his card, and I saw who he was, and I said, all right, I'll think about it, So I decided to sell it because the point is, if you reach somebody and you connect with somebody on that emotional level, it's a connection that few people can make, because when you have conversations, you can kind of connect sometimes, but we're all so busy, we don't really connect with folks. But that painting is my first experience connecting with another human being, with that person's soul, and I thought it was really cool. So I met him the next day, sold him the painting, and but here's where kind of what you're saying a while ago. I didn't understand. I was still thinking about the technical aspect of it too, and I said something like, "I was not sure really. I'm not really sure why you wanted this one and not another one, whatever." And he kind of looked at me and said, "Well, why would you say that?" Then I realized it's not for me to decide if somebody else likes my work or not.
Right.
It is up to the person viewing it, and that is true of art. And the last thing you want to do is try to, if I got something I don't like, but somebody else likes it, that's good enough. I don't need to worry about why or anything. If mission accomplished.
Right.
And so that was a nice start of a long friendship. And I learned a lot from that discussion. And then since then, did some other shows in Nashville. And I met I can't go into it now because it's probably take too long. But a man just came back from Afghanistan, and he was there with his family at this festival, and they're all walking by and everything. And he just stopped his family and just started looking at my work, and he came over there, and we talked forever, and we just. he was just going on, and eventually I gave him a print for free, just a canvas print that I wrapped myself of one he was looking at, and he said, keep doing this. He said, because I'm over there, I gotta go back. I'm over there doing what I'm doing, so that you can do what you're doing over here. Mm-hmm. And that just gave me chills as well. And so it's moments like that kind of make you realize, this is for them. It's not really for me. So. Right. And that painting that he had his eye on was another one of those paintings where I just kind of came up with it. It's a zombie bowler. It's called Deadwood or something like that. And it's a goofy painting, but it's a fun painting.
Yeah.
So
well, that's what it's about, is making emotional connections with art, huh?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They make an emotional connection, they want to buy it.
Right.
Sure
exactly.
Is. Yeah. So
great.
There you go.
And it's kind of cool, like the people you can meet at art shows and stuff like that, and the connections you can make. Like I've made friends that way that I'm still friends with, just because they came up to my booth and started talking to me. And so that's all.
Well, what I love about this show too is you sell your prints too, some smaller prints. Mm-hmm. So, some people can't afford a $300, $400 giant wall painting, but that's almost true. Anybody can afford one of your prints.
That's true.
So I love that.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah, they're really cool. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about some of the other artwork in your show because they're just so fun. Like I love that painting of Kiss carrying the flag in the Revolution.
Spirit of 76.
Yes, right. That painting is so great. And it's just so beautiful. Like like your stuff. Do you paint with acrylic or oil?
Acrylics.
Acrylic. I mean, that's incredible because it does look like oils because of just like the richness of the paint and everything. It almost looks like it's airbrushed on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just so beautiful and clean. Oh. It doesn't even look real until you like really get up there and you look at the brush strokes of the painting. Yeah. But that one is a really fun painting because
was fun.
It's based off of another painting.
I can't remember the artist. I'm embarrassed. I don't remember the artist, but it's from the Spirit of 76 painting.
Yeah.
That some artist did. I can't remember his name, but it was during the Revolutionary War and everything. I had a drummer and
somebody playing the flute.
Yeah.
And then somebody's carrying the flag.
Yeah.
But in this version, it's Kiss.
Yes. I remember the Kiss.
I love it.
And it's so cool because they're all in their outfits and everything.
Right.
And it's pretty great.
Stuff like juxtaposition of a classic painting or scene or whatever, that's part of pop culture, and then I just kind of add that to it. And I'm not necessarily a huge fan of Kiss or anything, but I love the fact that they are so out there themselves. They you appreciate their showmanship, I guess. And I think that's why they've had longevity, because this may be sacrilegious, but honestly, I'm not really crazy about their music. but I love what they do, though, and I appreciate the showmanship. It's almost like a sideshow.
Right.
They're very recognizable, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
You look at it and you know that's who it is.
Yes.
Whereas Bruce Springsteen, he's humble, he gets up there and sings a song, he might talk to you a little bit, but he's not wearing makeup, like a kabuki theater or something like that.
Right, yeah. I don't think I would recognize Bruce Springsteen on the street, honestly.
Right, yeah.
No.
I recognize his voice.
That's right.
So I love that painting. And then another one, you didn't bring it. I think you have a print of it. It's the Kiss as the dog's playing poker.
Yeah, that was
in the old B-side show.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And in the background, I think it's a painting on the wall of the dogs playing poker.
And within that painting, there's another painting. And I got to where, and it's funny, that painting is one that actually literally, in all seriousness, run my eyes.
Yeah.
Because of that small detail. And I had a magnifying glass. And I wasn't wearing glasses at the time, around 2014 when I painted that. I was up close and I was just doing this right here. And it took about 6 months to do that. But that idea originated from a discussion I had with my coworker, Amy, at my old job. And, she and I talked art and everything. And she would buy it. Her mother would buy some of my art as well. And we were having a discussion. I was saying something like, man, I just kind of at a loss for what to paint. And we're just throwing ideas out. One of the ideas she thought, well, how about Kiss playing poker? I went, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. So I sketched it out and everything. And I thought, man, this could be a good painting, So I knocked it out. It took a long, long time to do. And literally, that's when everything started kind of getting blurry. And but I did prints of it, and I did a show in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and I could not keep prints of that.
Yeah.
And
wow.
They were just, I sold out within a couple of hours, and people would come up. So I want to take Kiss painting. And I said, well, I'm all out of prints, And so then some people got my contact info and information, and they called me at home, and I mailed it to them. And but yeah, that's one of my most popular paintings, and it still holds up. So I didn't bring it to the show because every time I take an original, there's always a new nick or a new scratch or something like that, and people have come up and kind of try to scratch it to see what
is it really?
What is that? Oh yeah,
yeah.
There's canvas behind there.
Oh man.
Oh, wow.
So I don't want that being messed with.
Now, did you need glasses after that?
I did. I went to the eye doctor, and they said, yeah, your vision's gotten bad and everything. So I now wear trifocals, and I've had to up the prescription once since then. So
wow,
I guess it's going to happen sooner or later, I suppose.
Right.
You're just gonna have to start painting bigger, really.
Yeah. Murals.
That's
Murals.
right.
Yes. So I like how you do all the juxtaposition in your work, like American Gothic, but with Danny and Sandy.
Oh, that's great.
Sandy.
That's probably my favorite.
Yeah, and even with like the other characters that you do, like you have the Rock'em Sock'em robots in the
It's my childhood.
Yes, and he's like in the ring. And,
Canon WD-40.
Yes.
From the corner man, kind of making sure he's and there's oil. And one thing that people liked was about that one too was there's oil on the canvas of the ring. That was obviously knocked out of one of the other robots.
Right.
So that was fun to do. I kind of the corner man, I guess, and who's standing up behind the robot. I kind of messed up his face a little bit, and I got a little too concerned about that because I was trying to make him the focal point for some reason. I don't know why I did that. So that's when you have to kind of reel yourself in. Mm-hmm. The focal point was the robot, Right. So the corner man was less important. And but anyway, if you look closely, there's a couple blemishes on that one, But the robot himself is I think pretty okay.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I like seeing all those like pop art kind of reference or pop culture kind of references or things from your childhood that you really love that show up in your Do you have a favorite piece that's in this show?
Oh my gosh, no. They're all like each one is a time capsule. And when I look at them, I remember what was going on in my life. I remember what's going on in my son's life, my wife's life, and work and things like that. So they all conjure up some sort of memory, and each memory is just as important as the other, I guess, if that makes any sense. But as far as successful paintings go, my favorite, I guess, be the kids playing poker and Spirit of '76, and there are a couple others. Hank Williams playing "I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry" on a guitar was really fun too. That's the one that's at the Robin Nance.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That one's a fun one too. And that's well, yeah. I guess that would be a favorite, but it's not hanging up at the show. Yeah. But I remember that one more for I was working on a back porch on that one, and our dumb cat was walking all over me, trying to get in there, get in the way and stuff, and there was leaves and stuff blowing on it and cat hair and stuff like that. So I was trying to pick it out, the wet paint as I was going, So I remember all that, those minuscule things.
Yeah. So how would you categorize your art? Is it contemporary?
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
I don't know why I want to call your art pop art.
I like pop art. It's good. There's nothing wrong with
Contemporary pop art.
Contemporary pop art.
Why not?
Actually, that does lead me into something. So me and Leslie have this thing where I'm going to ask her definitions of different art terms or genres or something, and she has to define them. And then when we do our music episodes, and when
I'll give you a music.
So my
oh boy,
my
here
art
we go.
definition is
Show my ignorance.
it is actually pop art is the
Pop art is
yes, pop art is the art term that I want you to define.
I have to define it or kind of describe it.
Describe it, yes. And I have the official definition on the MoMA website.
Good.
They have a lot of art terms, so.
I mean, pop characters, I would think.
What classifies as a pop character? Don't look at him. Don't look at him for help.
I mean, I would think like cartoony characters or any kind of character that you make look like a cartoon. Is that fairly good?
Think Andy Warhol.
Yeah, think Andy Warhol.
Oh, gosh. I don't know.
It's not necessarily cartoon characters. Okay, well, according to the MoMA, it is a movement comprising initially British, then American artists in the 1950s and 60s. Pop artists borrowed imagery from popular culture.
Popular.
Pop culture from sources including television, comic books, and print advertising, often to challenge conventional values propagated by the mass media, from notions of femininity and domesticity.
What's that?
Domesticity to consumerism and patriotism.
Wow.
You got all
Well,
that?
when I was trying to think of it in my head, I don't know why I was thinking Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah,
She would be
Andy
part of
Warhol did
pop
the
art. Yeah.
just like
Sure did.
prints of Marilyn
you go.
Monroe. So that is a pop
It
art.
was kind of close
You're
in my
close.
head.
There you
I
go.
just didn't say it well enough.
Andy Warhol's Campbell soup cans. That's listed as one of the, or like Roy Lichtenstein.
I think that's right.
Yeah, that's
Liechtenstein.
he does like those.
Oh, yeah.
it looks like
Oh,
a
yeah.
comic book kind of.
Yeah, he lifted a lot of panels from DC's comics, and he's kind of a controversial figure, but he's a figure who's a millionaire at the time.
Right. Yeah.
But a famous interaction between Russ Heath drew a lot of those comics back in the 60s, and he lifted, or actually used for inspiration, a couple of Russ Heath's panels, and then played them like there's a jet fighter or something like that. And he sold it for well over $1 million, I think.
Wow.
And Russ Heath said, hey, I'm good with that. I'm happy with it. I was doing it as work for hire for DC Comics. So I don't own the artwork anyway. But the least you can do is send me a bottle of wine. That's all he asked for.
A bottle of wine and a few $100
Maybe a
bills.
few $100 bills.
Well, we're super happy to have you today.
I'm happy to be here.
Excited for people to see this show and come check us out in Columbiana. If you haven't been to our building, you will be pleasantly surprised at the beautiful building they've created, and then the art gallery. It's just state of the art and free. We don't charge you anything to come see all this incredible art. Lowbrow as it is. Whatever.
Lowbrow pop art.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. Thanks,
you, Tony.
Tony.
Thank
Appreciate
you for having
it.
me. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it.
And yeah, it's been fun. And we'll see you next time with the ladies of the Arts Council.
Yeah.
No, something like
The
that.
Arts Council ladies.
That's what I meant.